Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Adventures in Collecting.
Hello.
Dave, kicking it old school. Just the two of us today.
Yeah,
We have lots to talk about.
building castles in the sky.
We have. I don't know why it's actually slightly later than it usually is when we record, and I'm already like, I don't want to say loopy, but like I'm a little loopy. It's been a
You could you could not be loopy and murder your thirst.
I have just some plain still water. But cheers, nevertheless, Dave. Cheers
Yeah,
with our hydration. Hydration. Stay hydrated. Murder your thirst. Liquid Death, please sponsor us.
I
That's
enjoyed Liquid Death last night and
yeah. We'll get
at
into that.
Roadblock.
Let's definitely talk a little bit about NXT. Um, we're testing out kind of a new format here because I guess we could plug this actually first and foremost. We have our next guest has been announced here. So let's switch over to this whole view thing. Um, so our next guest will be Jeremy Gerard from Four Horsemen Studios, and we are going to be talking about Mythic Legions. Obviously, Four Horsemen Studios as a whole, as we've never had anybody on
Yeah,
from New Jersey's finest purveyors of sword and sorcery, action figures and collectibles. So yeah, we'll be talking to Jeremy on the next episode. So as you can see, the post is up on Instagram. If you are listening, head on over to our Instagram at AIC_podcast, where you will find this post, and you can submit questions to maybe be featured
hmm
on the next episode.
we'll be
Um,
talking all things dragons.
yes, so we'll be talking about Baethir, the absolutely gargantuan, massive dragon that they are currently crowdfunding. They're about halfway to their funding goal as of the recording of this episode. So
Thank you for pronouncing that for me. I just like the Lord of the Rings animated movie. I there are consonants in there that I'm not quite sure what to do with.
I'm going with Baethir only because it's
Baethur? Yeah, that's probably.
Baethir. Yeah, that's all I got. It's the best. Well, we'll find out next week, won't we?
Yeah.
Um, So while we're talking about what's in the pipeline for March, let's also talk about our next live show. So really exciting. We will be at Zapp Con on the 29th of this month, March 29th.
hmm
The doors open for Zapp Con at 10 a.m. Tickets are $10, and there's going to be a ton of retro video games, comics being sold, artists, uh, Jean St. Jean, toy sculptor
hmm
extraordinaire, will be there. But of course, we will have our second ever live show, the recording of which starts at 4 p.m. So if you are coming and would like to be in attendance for
hmm
the live recording of the podcast with Chris Ramo and Blaine Rodenbaugh from NECA, make sure you're there for 4 o'clock. So this is going to be a fun conversation because we've never had at the same time, right? Like we've had in the past guests that have worked on packaging, Chris of course being one of our previous guests, and
Yep.
like Blaine, who was a previous guest. We've had people who could talk about the actual toy design process, but with the two of them together, one of the things that we aim to do in this live recording is kind of break down the whole process. So like,
Specific NECA magic.
yep. So we want to take you through
NECA
the whole
specific
thing.
magic?
NECA magic specific to NECA.
Yeah, that's
Go
what
with
I'm
that.
getting at.
Yeah. So yeah. So again, you can visit zappconnj.com to get your tickets. Or if you're
You can go
already in the area, you can go to Zapp Comics. So,
at either Wayne or Manalapan.
yep.
Either location will sell you a badge.
Yep, and we're really excited. We've got some giveaways too during the
It's,
panel slash
mhm.
live
And it's
show.
like after you can get a little lunch at the snack stand, and
Yeah, it's a whole day affair, 10 a.m. to
mhm.
6 p.m. There's a lot of stuff going on. Of course, there's other live shows that are actually being recorded as well. There are a ton of things to do at ZapCon.
Yeah.
It is a fantastic show. So, um, if you are in the area, don't miss it. It's wonderful. Um, And then also this month is our giveaway. So March 2025 giveaway is live. It is this gorgeous PVC gallery diorama from our friends at Diamond Select Toys of AEW star Brian Danielson,
The legendary American Dragon.
the legendary American Dragon. Yeah. So again, all of this information can be found on our Instagram page. So that's at AIC_podcast on Instagram. There is a pinned post both for ZapCon and for this giveaway. Make sure that you check those out. Make sure that you enter to win. So we'll be giving one of these away throughout the month of March. So you have all of March to enter. But what are you waiting for, actually? You should just do it now.
Hmm.
Like, just go and do it. Rules are really simple. Read them all, and then yeah, enter to win yourself a Brian Danielson statue. It's like, and it's pretty big too. Like, I want to say it's maybe just shy of 1/6 scale. It's pretty big. Like,
Yeah, it's gonna take up some desk or shelf or mantle space. So
yeah, but really great likeness on it.
as
Sculpt's
any
really
good
cool.
statue would.
Yeah,
Um,
we're
and
big fans of what Diamond does, and that their AEW stuff is a lot of fun. So yeah, definitely make sure you enter to win yourself a Brian Danielson.
I was gonna say, and Diamond makes good statues. So
They do. One of the things they're known for.
hmm.
Um So, housekeeping out of the way. As we mentioned on the last episode, on the premium toyetic event, which was a lot of fun. We had a lot of fun breaking down
Yeah,
Elimination Chamber. We mentioned that this week we would be coming back to talk about Toy Fair. Uh, so we will do that. But before we jump into Toy Fair, Dave, you did something pretty cool last night.
yeah. I got myself a ticket to NXT Roadblock. Um, rolled up solo. Had some cool people around me. So thanks for being my friend for a night, everybody. But it was a lot of fun. It was sold out, packed house, theater at Madison Square Garden. So it's a little bit of a different type of setup, in the sense of like everything is on the camera side.
Mm,
So behind the hard cam, or in this case, it was actually a crane that was serving as the hard cam. Um, was like production. So that was pretty neat. Um, the theater at Madison Square Garden is a stage, so mostly you'll see like musicians or comedians or things of that nature there. Um, it's rare that they've had kind of sporting events, so or things of like a wrestling nature. I think the Liberty played there on the stage at one point.
hmm.
Um,
I've only seen one thing there. I saw a very strange and cramped version of like a Cirque du Soleil Christmas show.
okay,
Um,
I
got
think
to be
that's
like
where I saw Ricky
15 years
Gervais.
ago. Yeah.
I'm
But yeah,
pretty sure that's where I saw Ricky Gervais.
it's typically used for more kind of intimate performances.
Yeah,
So,
or they'll show like if the Rangers are in the playoffs or if the Knicks are in the
yeah,
playoffs,
they're like
it'll
watch
be
parties.
overflow for a watch party,
Yep.
which I would imagine is pretty cool, having been in there yesterday. Um, the crowd was great.
Oh yeah.
Great crowd. Um, I think the NXT crowd is one of the more, I'll say, fun crowds because you've got if you're an NXT fan, I feel like you know all wrestling at that point almost, because you've got people from TNA coming in, you've got people who were in AEW, you've got people who are coming from the main roster, like the NXT roster, like all televised, like North American wrestling, like pretty much like the back of your hand. Because like even now, granted, the Hardys, that's they're Hall of Famers, they're legends, one of the greatest tag teams of all time. Everybody knows who the Hardys are. But when somebody like Moose, who's been in TNA his entire career, or when any of the other TNA stars were in, Joe Hendry, um, Rosemary, people like that, like you've got to pretty much know the product in order to know that, other than I don't know who this person is, they must be from TNA. But it was really cool. It was a lot of places online that I'm reading, like response was it was one of the best like regular televised NXT shows ever. Maybe not PLE, but it was PLE level on a regular 2-hour weekly broadcast.
Oh yeah, I mean when you have the Hardys opening up your show.
Yeah, Hardys and Fraxium in like, I don't know, one of the Hardys' best matches, and since they were signed to WWE.
Yeah, it's we were talking about this offline. First of all, shouts to Kanik and the gang at the Collect Major brand. They had a lot of talent, a lot of their signed talent
Yeah.
on that show last night. In various forms, right? Like, whether it's Jordan Grace, whether it's the Hardys, uh, they have Ethan Page, a lot of guys that they've made
Mhm.
figures for were on display last night. But yeah, the Hardys looked. I mean, you put it best, and I think it's blunt, but it's accurate. I mean, they didn't look great in AEW.
Yeah,
They
it looked
looked,
like it was like, is this it?
yeah,
And they look almost reborn in TNA,
yeah.
where like it looks like they're having fun again.
It's crazy. It's especially so like Jeff. He was always able to still move. So like even in like the AEW stuff, it just his timing looked off. Like he looked like
Mhm.
he was literally just like hurling himself around the ring. Um,
They didn't look comfortable there.
no, and Matt was starting to look stiff. Like they have I think two things, right? Like I think they're a little reinvigorated being in that environment, being around maybe some of these younger talents, maybe the schedule,
Or even
whatever it
people
is.
familiar to them in TNA. Like,
It's working. It's working for them, and they look fantastic to the point where like if they did make a move to like the WWE,
mhm.
main roster in some fashion, if they did sign something, they could be on TV. Like they're ready to rip. I think they've got one more in them at least.
Yeah,
And seeing that match against Fraxium last night,
it was
uh,
really good. I think at some point, somebody from another show has to win one of these other brands' belts
yeah,
in order to kind of make it seem like, okay, we know what's going to happen.
I that was my one piece of feedback from the show.
I thought, I honestly
Somebody
thought it was going to be Moose and do like with like weird interference, and
maybe I thought it was going to be the Hardys.
well, it was their titles on the line.
That's what I mean. I thought that they were going to drop it to Fraxium,
Okay,
which would have freed up the Hardys to make a jump over to either a Raw or a SmackDown.
I still think they're contracted for a little bit,
Yeah.
so I could see them actually winning the NXT titles because.
Oh, maybe that's the inroad.
Mhm.
But
Well, I don't think they're gonna. Yeah, I think they'll ultimately re-sign, but I don't think I think they're gonna stick around in TNA for a little bit.
yeah, yeah. But it was a really cool show.
Dude,
You know,
Obafemi like needs a figure yesterday. He
that
is awesome.
that was the
I
most impressive part of the show. Just watching it from home for me was that match.
Dude, that crowd, like they were making fun of Moose being bald, which was funny, but like that crowd was I think the people they were into most were it was kind of 50-50 for Julia and Stephanie. The people they were into the most were the Hardys and Obafemi.
Yeah, I mean, Corey Graves, one of I love him on commentary. First of all,
Hmm.
one of the best calls I've heard in a while was, Booker made his call for like meat at the beginning of the match, and
Hmm.
then Corey said, and I think I actually texted it to you, so I'm gonna see if I can pull up the actual quote because it was so good. He said, um, it was a comment about meat, and it was excellent. One of the best calls. Let's
Well,
see.
while you look for that, I'm going to say that however good
Oh,
you
I got
think.
it.
Okay,
Go
go
ahead.
ahead.
I was gonna say, Booker, you're in luck. This match is gonna have more meat in it than a Brazilian steakhouse. And this was not a Haas
Hmm.
fight. It was a Haas war. I mean, like
Yeah.
they were unbelievable. They were
Hmm.
just both of them were so good.
Yeah, Moose is like I almost feel like he's been like kind of underrated for years because he's only ever been in TNA.
Yeah, and they were. I wish I don't know if you went back and watched it, like watched the replay to hear some of the commentary, but like that's the other thing that's so cool about this relationship is they're openly talking about cross-brand stuff in a
Hmm.
way that I'm just still not used to hearing like a WWE commentary team talk about it. Like they were talking about TNA and how TNA kind of has a chip on its shoulder because it's always felt like like a little brother or sister to WWE, and that for that reason all of the athletes there feel like they have something to prove now
Hmm.
that there's this relationship. And it was awesome because they were
Yeah.
singing Moose's praises, like all three of the all
Hmm.
three of the commentary team, like how he's been the face of that brand. He's like such a loyal guy and
Yep.
hard worker, and like it was just it was excellent. That's what I mean about that match. Why I was so impressed with it was not just the presentation of those two athletes in the ring, which I'm sure in person, like there was that superplex that looked like it like shook the entire like little arena.
Hmm.
Um, but and I wanted to ask you about that. Like, was that as impactful in person as it looked on
It
TV?
it made like the people everybody went nuts with that. Yeah,
Yeah, it was crazy. And then
because
following that,
Moose is a big guy, but Oba's a bigger guy.
I mean, when Obafemi gorilla pressed Moose out of the ring,
Hmm.
um, just wild. And I mean, there were a couple times where on CW they
Or
had to go full mute, like they had to
or
go full mute on the
yep,
broadcast because of what was being
the
chanted.
crowd was very into it.
Yeah,
And like when Moose just Uranagi to Oba through the table, like the announce table.
yeah.
Like I didn't think the table was gonna explode. I thought he was just gonna like it was gonna be sturdy. When that thing exploded, the place went nuts.
Oh
Like
yeah, that was another
yeah,
one where it
everybody
was
was
like
there for
full
that
mute.
match.
Yeah,
Oba, as good as he comes across on TV, as impressive as he is on television, that dude is. As soon as the lights go off and his music starts, and I tried to record the entrance for our stories, like that entrance, you're chanting, like you're getting fired up for that.
yeah,
He has a presence. Like that dude is gonna be a main roster world champ.
yeah.
And
I
if he's
mean,
not, then it's somebody else's. He either got hurt really bad or it's somebody else's fault.
yeah,
Because
because
that guy is a star. And he
yeah,
was a shot putter. No indie background. I think he might be one of the best like WWE like NXT Performance Center kind of trained wrestlers. Definitely the best male wrestler like that has ever come through. Because if you think about like Seth and Roman and maybe Big E, I'd put
yeah,
Big E up there too. But like this Oba's for real, man. Um
yeah. It's
this
it's it's
I need to
crazy.
see Oba and Gunther yesterday.
I so admittedly I don't watch a whole lot of NXT. Like I'll catch clips of
Hmm.
things. Like keep up to date with some of the things that are happening, but like
And
I don't.
he's a good promo. Like it took me a little bit to because I'm like he's just this big dude. Like what's and then like you the more you see of him, the more you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like this dude rules.
And he had a nice little moment with the Undertaker, which
Hmm.
was cool. And that
Which
was.
which to me thought I was like, oh, he's gonna lose this match.
Oh, see, that was when I saw that, I thought the writing was on the wall at that point.
Hmm.
Like, I going into it because I thought the same thing. I was like, he's he's gonna drop, like, Myers is gonna show up, and
Yeah, I thought
you
the
know,
system was gonna show up and interfere,
or what's the
and then
other
we were gonna lead to some sort of thing. Eddie Edwards,
Eddie Edwards. Yeah,
Tango,
I
like
figured one of them was showing up,
oh,
and
I thought it was going to be like all three were going to need they were going to need all four members to.
yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I like some combination of
Mhm.
shenanigans was going to happen and was going to screw him out of the NXT title, and it was going to paint TNA as kind of like the heel brand, and
Yeah.
that's the direction I thought that they were going. But as soon as he had that little thing with the Undertaker, I was like, oh no way! Undertaker did not just
Mhm.
tell him to defend his yard for him to for him to lose. But
See, I thought that was going to happen, and then like, oh, I got to actually get this title back, like, and
But
you
it
know,
was cool to watch. I'm excited you got to be there in person and you got to see. We won't talk about it because I guess it's still spoiler territory for people who are watching LFG. But you got to see the finale of LFG, so
yeah.
you know who wins, which
Hmm.
is fun. Um, but yeah,
Stephanie and Julia was great. Wish it was a little bit longer, but Julia seems to be like legit hurt. So
and honestly, you really wouldn't have known it from watching.
yeah.
She was still very sharp, so I don't know what
Hmm.
the injury actually is. I don't know if they've said. But no, they looked great, and I mean another talent that's like both of them are main roster bound
Yeah.
sooner probably than later, but you know they're just both of them are so good. I personally I prefer Stephanie Vicker over Julia, just like the style of wrestling, and her overall kind of just like
They
presence.
they are both
But they're
two wrestlers with great presence. Like
yeah they're both fantastic, both
Javon
fantastic.
Evans is another wrestler NXT star that I'm like, yeah, this
Yeah,
dude's got it too. Like,
they have a lot of good
hmm.
things going on. I think the one piece of feedback, right, is like we've seen many examples where NXT guys have been moved up to the main roster and either not they're not sure what to do with them, they're not
Hmm.
sure where to take their character, and they either fall to the wayside, end up being some sort of enhancement talent. Like there's a couple of guys recently, that have unfortunately seen that fate. You have at the bottom of the barrel, right? Your Cameron Grimes, who was fantastic and
Hmm.
you know to the moon and then past the moon and into orbit somewhere. But then you have like Carmelo Hayes and Grayson Waller,
Yeah,
who are kind
Carmelo's
of
just
like
starting to like get on TV more.
yeah, they're still figuring it out, but hopefully when it's their time, it's well thought out
Yeah,
and
Carmelo's another guy who's got like sure thing on him. Like, but he
yeah,
was a great indie. So
yeah, and I think Trick Williams is coming
Trick's
soon.
another guy who was not a wrestler, and he's
Well, he's personally he's my
mhm,
favorite guy in NXT. Like
yeah.
period. Like I cannot wait to see what they do with him eventually on the main roster. I I could watch that dude wrestle all day.
Hmm. And he got very good very quickly.
Yeah, that like program towards the end of Carmelo Hayes' time in
Hmm.
with him and Mello. That was I
The
watched
thing
a lot of that. That
the
was
thing that I
amazing.
think puts Oba over the top for me is just how quick, like as quickly a trick took a little while. Oba's like hella quick.
Well, he's also
Like,
like a specimen. I mean,
hmm,
that dude is.
he is enormous.
I get the feeling, and again, like you kind of alluded to it, but it's like that time that the first time you see like Brock Lesnar in person, like you see him
Hmm.
on TV and he's like massive, right? Like you could see how big he is, but then you see him in person and you're like, oh, that's a monster of a human being.
This
Like,
is an imposing human being.
yeah.
Like he's Oba's one of those people you see from far away and still looks enormous.
Hmm. Yeah, I get that impression. Having seen wrestling in person enough, like you see
Hmm.
one of those guys on TV and you're like, nah, I bet that's one of those guys.
Or
Um,
somebody, they call it the airport test. You see somebody in person out somewhere, and you're like, that person is somebody famous.
oh, that's what that means. I've heard
Hmm.
that airport test thing thrown around. I didn't know what that
Yeah,
actually meant.
it's like you see somebody out in just the airport or in public somewhere, and it's like, yo, that's
Got
somebody.
it. Got it. Got it.
That
Got it.
person right there is a famous person.
Yeah,
I
he's
don't know
either.
what they do, but they can't not be famous.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Okay, all right. Now that makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. All right, so let's switch topics here. Let's talk
Hmm.
about Toy Fair. Um, we've talked about it a little bit in kind of like bits and pieces, but I'm I'm gonna go out on a I don't think it's really going out on a limb, but I'm gonna go as far as to say this was the best show I think we've ever like executed on, if that's the right way to put it.
As far as like
Coverage,
getting stuff done,
yeah, like I just
oh, fourth time's the charm, right? Like,
seriously. I mean, it's a very important show for us, you know, not just us as in like adventures in collecting, but like us as in like toy blogging sphere, right? Like
yeah.
it's an opportunity to have some really cool conversations with, you know, the people from around the industry,
Hmm.
from the brands that we collect, we follow, we report on. Um, yeah,
Brands we are new that are new to us, like,
yeah, and we, you know, we probably could have used another day, like truthfully, because I found out like after the effect that there were some brands there that like I would have loved to have gone and like talked to a little bit more and just
hmm,
didn't know that they were there. You know, completely lost in the shuffle or like buried in somebody else's booth, you know, under a name that like you wouldn't have found them on the list, sort of thing.
yeah.
I saw some coverage. Specifically shouts to Teddy Bears. There was a whole Teddy Bears thing
Oh wow.
and we totally had no idea it was there. So and
Yeah.
they're amazing. We've talked to them, you know, a few times
We've
at
and I know we've tried to figure out how to get them on. They are
yeah. Yeah, we
in a
gotta
very different time zone.
yeah, we're still working on that. We will. And if they are listening, we're sorry we missed you guys. But
Yeah.
anyway, there was a lot. There was a lot to do. It was 2 days straight of just like running and gunning. And
And I think one of the things that kind of I'll say, and this is just on a like personal kind of inside baseball behind the scenes thing, behind the scenes like little topic. There was a point where we did have to split up late
yeah,
in our Sunday. Was that?
Sunday, yeah, like very end of the day. Yeah.
Yeah. And that might not be a bad idea for a couple of things moving forward.
Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where, you know,
Cuz in an effort to get like to cover more by us staying together as much as it's like that's what the audience knows. I think for big things, yes, that works. And I think for, you know, some maneuvering around,
I mean, there are pros and cons to it because, like,
yeah.
the example, you know, and we'll get into it a little bit more, but like the example that Dave is referring to is unfortunately, um, Dave missed the interview with Todd McFarlane, and I missed the interview or like the experience of like the Jazzwares Vault opening, and
Hmm.
you know there was a delay in our schedule, and you know Todd was running a little bit behind. And it was like, well, we can't get out of here without it was like our last chance, basically. It was like either one of
Hmm.
us sits here and we get him when he's out, you know, we're locked in, or we miss Jazzwares. And it was like, we can't do that. So
Hmm.
so, you know, we did have to split up. And
Yeah.
I think it's less of a strategy thing and more of a like FOMO thing. You know, I don't think like I don't
Oh,
want to miss stuff, you don't want to miss stuff. It's just
yeah.
kind of like and
Well,
we
I
planned it
had to,
very
like, yeah.
we planned it in all fairness, we planned it very well where we weren't like back to back to back to back to back to back to back things. Like we did have like a little bit of downtime in between
Hmm.
scheduled interviews where we were able to like squeeze in something that maybe we didn't have on the schedule.
Yeah.
I didn't feel like we were overrun. I
I
mean,
didn't at all. I felt tired in the sense that it was a long day. Like,
I
we did a lot.
I didn't feel overrun until we got home and I started editing. So I tried to do as much editing. Thank goodness for the good folks at CapCut for existing, because
Mhm.
that tool is so powerful on your phone. Um that like I was doing a lot of the editing on as much as I could on the fly to just kind of get stuff out. And
And shout out to taking a break to eat in
yeah,
order to allow you to do.
yeah. Thanks Dave for sustaining yourself.
Yeah.
So I get into this mode at these things where like it's like weird to like get personal for a second. Like I forget that I'm hungry. I forget that I need to use the bathroom. Like all of the things that are in my normal like day-to-day schedule. I'm just like, nope, my brain is there's a different
Hmm.
mode that's on. I'm good.
Yeah,
I've got
hydrating, like,
well
as
that
I
I
grab my
did do.
water.
That I did do. I made sure I stayed hydrated. Um but yeah, it's just one of those things where like I'm there to work. I know how much time that we have and I want to make the most of it. But
Hmm.
speaking of making the most of the time, we did get to see a lot of things
We did.
that were really cool. Some stuff that was on display for the first time. We're not going to go over every single thing. I mean, we'll be here for it.
Hmm.
So preface it with
Hey, you know
this.
where we did go over every single thing?
That's what I was going to say.
On YouTube and Instagram.
Yep, exactly. If you have not watched our booth coverage,
And thank
uh,
you to everybody who had,
yeah,
because a lot of people did. And I just want to shout everybody out because I am very appreciative that you took the time to find us and to find our coverage.
yeah.
So thank you. And
Some
leave
of
comments and all that good stuff.
Yeah, I mean, some of our most watched videos of all time, honestly, on YouTube. So
Hmm.
I'm really happy everyone enjoyed the coverage, found it useful. But if you want to see the in-depth coverage, full booth tours, things like that, we're at AIC_podcast on YouTube. You can go to our website aicpodcast.com. It has links to everything where you can find the full tours, but we have full booth tours with NECA, Trick or Treat Studios, Super 7, has the Hasbro media event.
Hmm.
Uh,
Mattel is up there, I think.
there are snips from Mattel and Spin Master. Shorts, I mean snips. What's a
Hmm.
snip? I'm just making up snippets. No, but shorts from certain aspects that we were in places where we were allowed to film.
Trick or Treat. Did you say that?
Said that the full
Nine to
interview with
Five.
Todd McFarlane, 9 to 5, 9 to 5
Plunderlings.
Warriors, Plunderlings. I think those were all of the main. Oh, and Collect Major. Um,
Yes.
yeah, those were all of the main booths. That we have full tours of, and then of course on our Instagram at AIC_podcast. If you go just scroll a little bit down on the feed, you'll see the Toy Fair stuff will start to come up. We have full
Hmm.
galleries of pictures and everything.
Oh,
Um,
NECA. Did you say NECA
I said
was
NECA, yeah,
okay?
yep. Um, but yeah, it was a really cool event for those who are not super familiar with the format of Toy Fair. It's much different than your typical con. You're like a fan con. It's not like a New York Comic Con or a San Diego Comic Con, and in that it's not technically open to the public. There
Hmm.
are really only three types of people that are there. Your media/influencers, your retail representatives, and then your representatives from the toy industry. Um, in some capacity, right? That you can kind of bifurcate the crowd into those three groups. So you don't have people that are there to get autographs, that are there for photo opportunities, that are there, as fans. And I mean, obviously we're fans. That's why part of the reason why we're doing this, right?
Like, you don't see your troop of cosplayers
Yeah.
or
I would go as far as to say it's if you've ever been to New York Comic Con at the Javits Center, especially if you went in 2024 when it was like the most attended Comic Con in the history of Comic Cons. Um, Maybe about a third of the people that were there for Comic Con, roughly.
yeah,
You never have to wait in line for a bathroom. The Wi-Fi
Wi-Fi
and
and cellular
cellular
works.
work because there's not too many people in one spot. You're not you can freely walk up and down aisles
Hmm.
and stop and lean against the wall somewhere and find a seat. Uh, you don't you Dave, you didn't have to wait in line for food a single time. You just kind of walked right up and got what you
Hmm.
needed. It's much more relaxed
But there
in that
always is a
regard.
line for Starbucks,
Yeah, that's the one thing. Um, but yeah,
no matter when you go.
it was a really great event, and I think I think I could say comfortably on for both of us, Toy Fair is very special for us. Being that it was kind of the first thing that we ever went to, like event we ever
Hmm.
went to as Adventures in Collecting, and the first time we went 5 years ago, we didn't know anything. We didn't know how it worked. We
We
got
didn't
turned
know
away at
anyone.
places. We didn't know anyone, and it is very, if I can be self-congratulatory for a moment, it is very vindicating after doing this for 5 years to be able to go into an event like this and know people and be able to have conversations and like it felt
In
nice.
some instances, met people in person for the first time.
Yeah, like that is just and people that we talk to on social media all the time. I mean, the community is so awesome. Um, you know,
People that we've had on here,
yeah,
people that we, have kind of worked together with as
yeah.
far as like press
Yimbo, No
folks.
Chewing,
Yeah,
those guys like
toy shiz.
Toy
It's weird
Shiz.
though. It's weird seeing a logo walk around though. Like you
He's just
you
the
haven't realized until you see just the toy shiz logo
yeah.
with arms and feet.
Yeah, it's unsettling.
It's like
Um,
being in a theme park, but like a real person.
we got to see the 3 Dans. It's always a pleasure to see the 3 Dans. That being Dan Larson, Pixel Dan, and Dan Pickett of Action Figure Insider.
Hmm.
Um, the 3 of the best Dans to ever do the Dan thing.
Well,
Um,
and Dan Yoon.
and Dan Yoon, but Dan Yoon is not a toy blogger.
That's true.
He is a toy maker. He's a maker of toys. But yeah, so
That's
always a
true.
pleasure to see Dan Yoon as well. But all right, that's enough of the back patent. Let's talk about some of our favorite things that we saw. So I'm gonna pull up this little reference material here. Um,
Eric's gonna pull up his photo gallery.
but just kind of skimming through and starting at the beginning, it was really great to see Art the Clown in from NECA. That's one I was really hoping that they were eventually going to get to, and they absolutely crushed it. So whether it's Santa art or whether it's the classic art, and they actually said that there's going to be a clean Art the Clown as well, a non-bloodied version. So really really excited for all of the Terrifier stuff, and of course the little
Toonies.
well, this is the ultimate girl clown. I forget what her name is, the little demon girl, little art girl. But yeah, and then the Toonies as well. Uh just again, like we both love these movies. We've done, our toys on film about them. Uh and I'm just so excited to see them get the NECA treatment. I mean, they just nobody does horror quite like NECA, and the fact that I'm going to have an Art the Clown that I can stand next to a Jason Voorhees and a Freddy Krueger and a Michael Myers, and they'll all be in the same scale
Right where
as
art belongs.
yeah, it's just perfect. The other thing in the horror realm that I loved from NECA were these blind box Chuckies. The ultimate Child's Play Chucky is fantastic, and he's so little. Because again, he's in scale with 7-inch figures, so he's what he should be
Hmm.
in 1/10 scale. So they're doing these awesome blind boxes where each Chucky is some sort of messed up variant or just the regular like good guy doll. And there's a chase kind of element to it. Like you don't know which one you're gonna get. Some are more rare than others. They come in a little good guy box. I mean,
Hmm.
it's just amazing. I also loved the show on Sci-Fi. I thought it was fantastic. It's a shame it got canceled, but yeah, I mean, NECA is doing some really really cool stuff when it comes to their horror, and and it's always great to see that booth as well, whether it's at something like Toy Fair or at something like New York Comic Con. They are a brand that cares very much so about uh reveals and doing cool stuff for the community, um which
I also think they care a lot about genre too.
that too. But the thing that I was kind of trying to get at was more so like, right, at Toy Fair you have two different types of um booth presentations, right? You have stuff that's like, okay, we know we have media here. We're going to do some reveals. We're going to do some stuff that people have never seen before and show off, what's coming, while also catering to the appointments that they have with
Mhm.
retailers where they need to say like, okay, here's the
This is
kind of
what's going
stuff
to be
that
in
you can,
stores.
that you can buy, and here's when it's going to be available, right? Like that sort of thing. Um, NECA edges more towards the media reveals influencer kind of stuff, which was awesome. It was really, really great to see. And again, really, really excited to
And maybe you can see some of this stuff in person on March 29th at Zapp Con.
yep. And you took the words right out of my mouth. Yeah, that's exactly right, Dave. So Blaine and Chris will be bringing some surprises,
Hmm.
things that they might have shown at a Toy Fair that have not otherwise been available
Hmm.
to see with public eyes. So
And we don't even know. We won't know till we get there.
yeah,
So,
it's legitimately a surprise. But yeah, I mean the another brand that's like very near and dear to us is Funko and Funko Pops. And Dave, do you want to talk a little bit about Biddy City,
yeah,
which was
so
pretty
they're
cool?
going into the Bitty Pops are the smaller, um it's like a really scaled down version of a Funko Pop. I don't have any in front of me right now, otherwise I would hold one up. But it's like super tiny. It's a little box and figure, and they've moved into almost like a little tiny statue of a figure. And they've now moved into rides and houses and like bitty towns and stuff like that. So it's just like the entire Funko catalog is shrunken down, and now they're going into like, well, what's next? And you think of like a whole kind of train station diorama, like a train set type of deal,
Hmm.
and they're making Bitty City, which is a city element where you can connect all of these elements together to make like a big Funko world, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and that's exactly what I kind of you mentioned like a model train city. You think
Hmm.
about like those old like, you know, not old, but like when people used to build like the big tables in their basements and
Hmm.
all of like the model train village. That's definitely the vibe I got from these.
Like Mickey's husband in Mighty Wind,
Exactly. What a reference.
the town of Crab.
I
It's
have
Crabville,
I have a little red wagon. Um yeah,
a real red wagon.
a
Yeah,
real red wagon. Yeah, yeah.
it's a
Um,
tongue twister.
but yeah, again, lots of really cool stuff from NECA across the board. The Biddy City stuff was definitely fun to see for the first time in person. We also got to see, the Ninja Turtles, or I'm sorry, the real Ghostbusters, the 112 scale Mondo ones, because of course Mondo and Funko, uh, being owned by Funko. Um, these look really great. I mean, the detail on them, they
Mhm.
for the first time, they are figures that look like they walked off the real Ghostbusters TV show. So really excited to see. I think these were still prototypes. Not I think these were still prototypes
Mhm.
that were there. So yeah, really cool to
Yeah, because I don't think those were even out at Comic-Con yet.
no, no. They hadn't even New York Comic Con. They hadn't gone up for pre-order yet.
Mhm.
Um,
They were just announced, yeah.
this freaking thing was cool. The you can watch an unboxing of sorts of this.
I'm
Uh,
sorry, just the way you said that.
well, I'm like
It
I'm
was
like
cool.
I'm like
Reliving?
reliving. Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like reliving as I'm going through the gallery here. So yeah, the moving from Funko, Spin Master had a really cool booth.
Mhm.
A lot of stuff that we can't talk about that you're going to be really excited for. Mostly revolving around Superman. Um,
Maybe.
no, we could say that that
Okay.
it revolves around Superman. We just can't say what it was. But we saw lots of really cool Superman stuff and heard about some really cool Superman stuff. That's
That's
all we
true.
can.
Mark mentioned
Yeah,
Superman
that's
on the
that's all
show.
we can. It's all we can say.
Mhm.
But whether you're a fan of Superman
Or
in
Jurassic
general,
Park.
or Jurassic Park, or How to Train Your Dragon, there's some really cool stuff coming from Spin Master. So,
Mhm.
one of the
Including a
things.
self-hatching T-Rex.
Yeah, the little T-Rex egg that's again, we have a full video of it up on our Instagram, but
Yeah, that thing was cool.
you can relive the moment from like the little incubator and the T-Rex hatches out of the egg. I mean, there's no other way to put it. It's hilarious.
And
And
you
we
have the
had
little Chris Pratt remote where you can like make the T-Rex nice.
yep, you can make it nice or you can make it protective. You can make it fierce. I think they said it was nice or kind or fierce.
Mhm.
Um we had Joe with us who was whispering John Hammond lines in my ear while I was filming it in the voice of John Hammond, which was a treat. But yeah, this thing was just really cool. I mean, if you're a fan of Jurassic Park, um, and you're of a certain age, like I was like
I
the
don't think you
perfect.
have to be a little kid to
No,
enjoy
I
that.
just mean like for the original one, like being a
Mhm.
little kid when that came out, watching that dinosaur hatch out of that egg. That's like an experience I have always wanted to have. So getting to stand this close away from one and watch it happen, I was completely blown away. My cheeks hurt because I was smiling the whole time.
Yeah, it was
Um,
really cool.
it's just a really cool uh toy. I mean, flat out really cool toy.
Mhm.
We talked a little bit about our friends at the Major brand. They had some cool new stuff on display. Namely, this Rambo figure, which was really neat. So
Rambo, big rubber guy.
they are bringing Rambo to the Big Rubber Guys line. Uh, he looks awesome. Um, it's First Blood, Rambo, and he looks great.
Comes with
So
his familiar knife and um,
a whole boatload of
giant
bullets.
machine gun and bandolier.
Yeah. They also had on display for the first time some new bendies, including the Hardy's debut attire, which was really cool to see. It's one of these. Um, but it's in there like there we go.
There they are.
In their plaid ring gear.
We're
You
talking
know,
WWE debut,
yeah, like was that
like
early?
Shotgun Saturday
Yep,
Night.
yep, thank you. And we're also they're making a ring. So there's gonna be a little ring that will be for the bendies or the major stars, which
Hmm.
the major stars, a lot of people are asking like what scale they're in. The best thing I can describe them like is if you remember, and Dave, what's the actual name? The loyal subjects,
Action Vinyls.
the action vinyls. Yeah, the little ones that had like a little bit of
Yeah,
articulation, kind of a. They're almost the closest thing.
yeah, because they're bigger and and they're articulated compared to like um
It's like
oh
it's
like
like
the pro wrestling tees guys, like the brawlers.
yeah,
Um
it's like if a Funko Pop, an Action Vinyl, and a Remco had a baby. Because like they have the larger head like a Funko. They
yeah, I
have
would
the
say more like
He-Man
a
style
bobblehead because they're
body.
more
Well, detailed. Yeah,
yeah.
it's not like but I'm just mean in terms of like proportion. But these are really cool. And again, like
Actually, you know what they remind me of? The boss fight Legends of Lucha Libre Luchacitos,
okay, yeah, that works too. Um, but again, the something new from them.
which is on my desk. So yeah, they're kind of like this in a way.
Okay. Here, wait, hold that up again.
This is what they remind me most. Nope, that's you.
There we go.
What they remind me most of.
Yeah, yep. Definitely. Definitely. Okay. Moving on through, we saw the new Power Rangers figures. Couple different scales. So they have
Hmm.
the head flipping action, like classic action figures.
But they're
They
automatic. You don't reset them now.
yeah, they just you hit the button and they keep going. Again, video of that on our feed. Um, but they also have these other I guess they're technically 1/12 scale figures. They're somewhere between 5 and 6 inch figures.
Very
But
reminiscent of the old Dandies.
yeah, well, no, these are more so like what Playmates is known for putting out.
Oh, okay. I'm thinking of the other ones.
And then yeah, and then they have another line of retro throwbacks that are like
That's what I thought
the
you were going
big
through first. Okay.
yeah, the big Bandai ones, and these are super cool with like the articulated fingers and all that good stuff. Um, Again, the thing with this line that a lot of people need to kind of remember and check themselves on, I guess you could say, is these are designed for children. Like these are not meant to be. I mean, anything can be collectible if you try hard enough, right?
They're
But
not a replacement for the Lightning Collection.
no, these are meant down to the actual name of the line itself being the reignition, the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers reignition is meant to reignite a new generation of or reignite Mighty Morphin Power Rangers for a new generation of fans.
Hmm.
So it's going to be targeted towards kids. They're going to be re-releasing the episodes on Netflix with an element of like toy animation. So they're
Hmm.
gonna basically put in toy commercials for them, and hopefully attract fans back to new fans back to Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, and we'll see what happens after that. But yeah, that was it was cool to get to see those for the first time. I know a lot of people were curious. Uh, I'm not the biggest Power Rangers fan, personally, but I was when I was a kid.
I was gonna
So,
say you sure were like.
um, but I kind of stopped at the movie with like Ivan Ooze and stuff. That's where I loved that movie. It's my favorite Power Rangers thing. I actually watched it again recently,
Hmm.
and I still love that movie. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much you know uh where I fell off. So I don't know about like Power Rangers in Space or PD or like any of the other um
And I will go so far as
versions.
to say that you know more than I do about those.
So then moving on to Hasbro. Hasbro usually not in the house. In the Javits Center. Usually they have some sort of offsite thing, but they were there this year in person, and we made a beeline directly over to Maximum Spider-Man when the little fan event opened, and I got hands on with it, and I am so glad that I pre-ordered one. It
Which is
is
also available on YouTube.
yes, it is awesome. I love this figure. Um, I'll kind of reiterate some of the things that I said, just because I know a lot of
I
people
got to
care.
pick it up for a couple seconds too, and I thought it looked cool or was
Yeah,
cool and moved cool.
yeah. But at the end of the day, it is a Marvel Legends figure. Like,
Yeah,
don't go into this with the expectation that like it's gonna have new style joints, or it's made of a different plastic, or it has it sings.
it's
I don't know. Like people are
it's not an import.
no. It is still a Marvel Legends figure. There are a lot of things about it that are tweaked, I will
And by
say.
import, of course, I mean like your
A Mafex or an SH figure,
Mafex
yeah.
or yeah.
It still has the sturdiness of a Marvel Legends figure. It moves the way that you expect it to, but better. There are very subtle things about it that are cool. Like, again, if you watch the video, I point out that there's sculpting details in like the legs and in the back and the torso, where like there are these pinch points of fabric that are sculpted and modeled in, which makes it look more like he's wearing a suit, which is really cool. It doesn't just look like he has like a suit painted onto his body. Um, and I'm sure at some point down the line, this body will be used again. Hell, it might even end up in a regular $25 Marvel Legends figure. Who knows? But in terms of the whole package, what you're getting here, I think there's value. If you're a Spider-Man fan, especially if you like, the Todd McFarlane era Spider-Man, this is the way to go,
A
man.
lot of
It's
accessories
it's it.
too,
Yeah, crap ton of accessories.
which I think
Um,
thought there was a picture of.
I mean, you could just see it in the box there.
Yeah,
There's a ton going on there. All the different
heads,
hands and arms,
hands,
and yeah, it's
Spidey
that's awesome.
sense. Like it's cool.
Yep. They also revealed at Toy Fair Archangel, and this one has subsequently gone up for pre-order. I think it's still available on fan channels, so you can go to aicpodcast.com/links and grab this for yourself on Big Bad Toy Store.
Very cool
Um,
figure. I love that run of X Force.
yeah, great figure. They also revealed at Toy Fair the Doctor Doom 1-to-1 scale wearable helmet. These role play items are super detailed. They're awesome if that's your sort of thing. Of course, this is actually wearable too, which is hilarious and awesome. Um, so you can walk around with your Victor Von Doom mask on. The hood does come off, so it is just kind of like a dome under there. But yeah, really, really, really cool figure, or really, really cool release. And Archangel is an awesome figure. Um, the other big thing that we got to see in the Hasbro booth was the GI Joe section. There was a lot in there. So there's a lot from Transformers. There's a lot from Star Wars and GI Joe, and but there was some things that we got to see revealed kind of for the first time. So um in person, we got to see the snake armor. Again, video on our social media on YouTube. Lenny actually gave a really in-depth tour of the entire display, and he opened the snake armor. We got to see the inside of it, how everything works. Um,
How a figure can live in it.
yep, yeah, really, 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 really cool. They also had the packaging for the upcoming San Diego Comic-Con exclusive. Um,
The cold
the
slither
Yep,
packaging.
cold slither. So we got to see the figures weren't in there, but the package is going to fold out. It's a stage. There's a ton of fun Easter eggs on it that call out like other
Mhm.
Hasbro things. There's like a poster on one of the
For Gem and the
yeah,
holograms.
for Gem and the hologram. So yeah, just again, like tons of really cool stuff throughout all of Hasbro. Stuff that was previously announced, but again, like just being able to see it for the first time. So a lot of the Spider-Man stuff that just came out, or was just announced. Spirit Spider, all this stuff from the Gamerverse. Um, Lots of the Transformers Age of the Prime stuff. Just again, like Hasbro basically used the majority of their booth to show off the things that they've announced in the last, like, I'd say 6 to 8 months. So that entire mini comic book wave was there. Um, Speaking of mini comic books, actually, they did also do, which I thought was really neat, and I have have it right here. Um, They had an exclusive. I'll switch to one here just for a moment.
Yeah.
They had an exclusive miniature comic book, so like the ones that are coming in that wave on the
Exactly like
retro
those.
style
Yeah.
cards. But this was exclusive to New York Toy Fair. So we got Spider-Man on the cover, and then on the back, Marvel Legends, and it's got the date. So
The thing that I love about that is the staples.
yeah, you can kind of see it on there.
It hold it with the back towards the
There you go.
straight on. You'll see it better.
Oh, there you
Here.
go. Yep,
Yeah.
there you go. Yeah, it was
Like I
that's
think
really
that's a
neat.
really cool detail.
And I mean, the figures look really cool holding them too. You know, in terms of like scaling and just I have Stan Lee holding a copy. I
Mhm.
managed to secure 2 of these. So
Well, no, you have mine.
um I thought you had yours too. Oh, then I
No.
guess I have yours here.
Yeah.
Um but but yeah, so figure holding it looks really cool. I have Stan Lee holding my copy. So Dave,
Yeah.
this one's headed your way when you get a
I would like
chance.
to put one in the hands of a certain motorcycle riding character.
That makes sense. Um so just kind of skipping ahead here to some other stuff. Again, oh, and Diamond Select. There's a full booth
Oh
walkthrough of
yeah, of
Diamond
course.
Select. Didn't mention that. So that's also um on our YouTube. Again, we mentioned Trick or Treat Studios. They have a lot of really cool things cooking. The whole Guar set was amazing.
Similar
Um
idea to the House of a Thousand Corpses set with a build a figure element with getting the figure case.
yeah.
If you are a big Odorous fan, rest in peace, Odorous. He is the build a figure.
Yep, there he is in all of his glory. His member and all. Um,
It's the first thing you see whenever you see a Guar anything.
yep. I loved the Day of the Dead 5-inch action figure line. I will probably
hmm
be on the hook for each and every one of these,
As will I.
especially this guy right here, Bub, my favorite zombie related thing ever in anything for until the end of time. Um, I mean, they're just doing some really really
The
cool
gate.
stuff. They're doing figures for the gate as well as 1/1 scale gate demons. Um, they're continuing their
I
five
kind of
inch.
want the gate demon to be honest.
They're continuing their 5-inch Terrifier line as well. We're getting Sienna in her Golden Angel outfit. We're getting the little Terrifier girl again, like the clown girl. Another new art with some very Terrifier 2 accessories, including bleach. Um, God, it's what a time,
Don't they
man. To be
have
able,
sunglasses art as well?
and then there's yep, and then you have flower sunglasses art with the blowtorch. I mean,
hmm
it's just like the accessories on these are hilarious. Like he's got the art crispies,
The
the
cereal.
the cereal, the gutted possum. Yeah, just again some really cool stuff coming from Trick or Treat Studios. Skipping ahead a little bit more here. We mentioned Plunderlings. We got to see the Plunder Beaks on display for the first time. This is what's coming next from our friends at Lone Coconut. These things look unreal. A couple people did mention in the comments when we were doing our quick kind of tour of these Plun- Plunder Wings was was right on the tip of the tongue,
hmm
and they went with Plunder Beaks. But the beak is kind of the focal point. There's some Ricky did some really cool things with the articulation on these wings too, the way that they can kind of move around and be reconfigured. And we're starting with 3 different Plunder Beaks. Uh, the 3 different shades. The skin tones on the bodies are all the same from the Plunderlings, so little hatchlings will work with these. Yeah, so stay tuned for more on the plunder beaks, as they will be coming to a Kickstarter near you, very, very soon. Uh, and honestly, I mean, that's kind of really quickly like the highlights,
Hmm.
I would say, of the event. Um, again, I'll echo
Jazz
it.
wears 5 nights.
Yeah. If you want to see full coverage of Toy Fair,
I think we posted that, right? The
we
5.
did. Yep,
Yeah.
yep. The Jazzwares Vault opening.
It's also
Uh,
hard to remember because so much happened that I'm like, did we do that? Oh yeah, we covered that.
so the one thing that I guess we should touch on before we wrap this up, the last two things that we did, of course, were the Jazzwares Vault opening and sitting down with Todd McFarlane. So the big news of Toy Fair obviously was the announcement that Mattel was reacquiring the rights to DC.
Hmm.
So we talked to Spin Master about that. We talked to McFarlane about that. Spin Master, very cut and dry. They have the license until the end of 2026, and that's it. So after 2026, no more DC stuff from Spin Master. So presumably the last kind of property you'll see from them will likely be Supergirl, would be my guess. Um, with that movie coming
Hmm.
out, it was next year, right? So
I
or at the
believe
end
so.
of this year. So that's
I could double check that for you.
likely the last thing you'll see from them, but you will see some Superman movie stuff. Um, and their continuation of their DC line. In talking with Todd, he is confident that there will always be some sort of DC representation coming
That
from
is
McFarlane
actually
Toys.
due next June, June
Okay.
2026.
Okay. So there you go. So if
Yeah,
they're saying they have it till the end of 2026, I think that's a pretty safe bet. But Todd, on the other hand, was not as cut and dry. They are still figuring things out. They have the license again until 2026, so are going to continue producing toys until DC toys until
hmm
they can't anymore. Unless they figure out something. They have a very strong relationship with Warner Brothers. That is not changing. So Movie Maniacs, Mortal Kombat. They're
yeah.
starting.
Those Mortal Kombat were announced, and so were the Turtles.
Yep. But again, if you want to see full coverage of that booth, the full conversation with Todd McFarlane, I highly, highly recommend you go and listen to it. Watch it on our YouTube channel. It's awesome. And
Hmm.
as we said at the very beginning of this episode, we split up. I was talking to Todd. Dave got to go to the Jazzwares Vault opening. So Dave, what are some of the things that you saw there that I mean I caught like the tail end of it, but
Hmm.
you were there for the whole thing. So
Yeah. So there's of course more. Well, Orange Cassidy was kind of stuck in the vault. He came from the vault. I guess he got locked in as Orange, kind of finds his way into places.
it's
But
whatever.
yeah, it's whatever. His pencil line drawing figure, which is already out, you can order it and get it shipped to you and all that good stuff. That was the first kind of vault release from the vault opening. There's an FTR set, which this is the FTR we've wanted.
Mm-hmm.
Um, they have the jackets and boots and all that good stuff. Dax has a mustache. We also have there was some Halo
Yep.
in the vault.
Some Halo. There was some
There
more
was also
micro Galaxy
Micro
Squadron.
Galaxy. Yeah. There's the outside of the vault. Five Nights at Freddy's is coming.
Yeah. Shouts to friend of the pod,
Shout out,
Aaron
shout
Margolin.
out to Aaron. Yeah.
It was great seeing him. Great seeing all the guys from Jazzwares. So we saw
Hmm.
Jesse Retrozone Neon on Instagram. He's the sculptor and designer on Halo and the
Avatar.
Avatar. Yeah, Airbender stuff that's coming.
Hmm.
We got to see our buddy Dan Friedman, who is the designer on the
AEW.
AEW line.
And Dan making quite a few appearances on
Social media as of late. Very
social media
over.
as of late. Yeah.
Yeah, one could say he's over AF.
Yeah, he is
they
over.
say. But yeah, and then we kind of closed out our evening with the Five Nights at Freddy's stuff, which looks really cool. They're doing some really interesting things with like the animatronic like skeleton, and you can dress it with the pieces, and you can
I thought that was really neat.
Choose kind of like your own adventure there, like have like dirty or messed up parts or clean parts. But yeah, overall,
and hopefully we'll get to have Aaron back on when it comes time.
Yeah, if he's not too busy trying to find his way to beautiful Dallas Fort Worth, we can definitely have him on. If you don't follow Aaron on social media, the guy he just has a hell of a time every time he gets on a plane. He's just trying to go to beautiful Dallas Fort Worth, Texas, and he always ends up somewhere else. It's just he has got a rough go. One of these days he'll get there.
But yeah, it's been a while since Aaron's been on. So
yeah, since the Pokemon 25th anniversary.
The Select, right?
Actually, yeah,
the Select launch.
Yeah, it was the 25th anniversary of Pokemon when we had him on. That's like forever ago. But yeah, I think with that, it's we can finally stop talking about Toy Fair. We can move on to what's next.
Oh, Mask. We didn't even talk about Mask.
Didn't even talk about Mask. But again, there's a full video of that, Dave,
on
our social media.
Subjects doing Mask.
And they have Hasbro, longtime Hasbro or former Hasbro, but longtime Hasbro designer,
and Kenner,
going all the way back to Kenner. John Warden is consulting. So
yeah,
and reached out to our friends at the Loyal Subjects too. Maybe we can have Jonathan and John or John Warden come on and talk a little bit about what they have going on. So something else that's maybe cooking in the pipeline. But with that, let's put Toy Fair 2025 to bed, and move on to what's next.
And reconvene next February.
We're moving right into con season very quickly. San Diego Comic-Con will be here before we know it, which is terrifying to say because it's only March, and that means
WonderCon is either happened or is happening.
I think it's happening this weekend. So
okay,
but yeah, I think with that, it's a good place as any to wrap it up.
Yeah.
Hope you guys enjoyed the Toy Fair coverage. Again, like we had a blast doing it. And
always,
it's still a pinch me moment that we get to go to these things. It's not lost on us. So, if you guys have any feedback, any suggestions, any things you liked, things you didn't like, things you want to see more of, or less
even
of.
things you want to see less of, like yeah.
We are totally open to feedback. We're producing this coverage so that way you guys can see what's going on in there. So if there's something that you want more insight into, comment, let us know. Whether it's on one of the Toy Fair videos, whether it's on the one of the Toy Fair posts, whether it's on the post for this episode of the podcast, whether it's in the comments section for this episode of the podcast, let us know. How can we make our Toy Fair coverage better? What can we do better? How can we make you happier?
We did some things differently this year, so compare and contrast. What do you like better?
Yep.
We are here for you.
And Dave, I think with that, it's time for us to sign off. Send us home.
All right. See you next year, Toy Fair.